ZTE Boost Max versus the ZTE Warp Sync. Let's take a look. What's up, girls and guys? It's RLG Gamers here, and I'm here on boostmobile.com. The link to this site will be right under my eBay link where it pays to shop online. A lot of people have been asking me about the Boost Max versus the Boost Sync on YouTube, everywhere around, and they just want to know because, you know, the price difference, as you see, $250 versus $179. It's pretty close, but I'm going to let you know which one I would go for if I was on Boost. eBay, where it pays to shop online. Sign up with my referral link in the description and get cash back on all your purchases. More information at the end of the video. So first off, by looking at the Boost Max, I'm gonna pull up this picture so you can look at it without the case. They're showing it with the case on it. So that's without the case right here, and that's the back of the phone right there. And that's what it look like without the case. So get the case out of your mind unless you want to buy it with that exact case. But let's go on down here and compare the specs. First off, we know the price is $250 versus $179, all right? But if you go down through here and look at the specs. Now, as a quick comparison, straight off the bat, I would tell you I would go with the ZTE Warp Sync. And if you, just for the simple fact that if you look down here on the Max, you will see that it has 1 GB of RAM. Just one. But if you jump over to the Warp, which is also cheaper, it has 2 GB of RAM. Just with that being said, I would go with the Warp because of the more RAM. Because 1 GB RAM will get you through, but not as good or as easy as 2 GB of RAM. So just based off that, I would go ahead and go with the Warp. But looking at some more specs, as you see right here, I'm going to go on up here. The difference between the Warp and the Max is definitely going to be noticed by the screen size. Now, if you go over to, of course, the Max, where they think it's the Max, I think they call it that because of the screen. It's the same size as the Note 3, same size as the Note 4, alright? So when you get this phone, it's going to be as big as the Note 4. So look that up or whatever, and you will see that this phone should be about the same size as that. Now, as far as the bezels and stuff, make the screen a little bigger, you know, whatever. It looks like it got big bezels on this Max. So don't expect for, you know, it to be as thin as the Note, but altogether it's supposed to be the same size, quotation, as the Note. Now, also another thing that makes me defer away from the Max, instead of the price, which is significantly higher than the Sync, is the Android version. Now, Android 4.1, I don't ever recommend 4.1. I probably used to recommend 4.1, or I definitely didn't recommend 4.0, but 4.1 is about like 4.0. It's missing a couple apps. Now, I believe they have updated it since. I'm not really too sure. But so some of the apps on 4.1 you can't get, but you can get it on 4.2. And I mean, like Instagram used to not be supported, stuff like that. It just, if you go with Android 4.1, you may run into some apps that you used to use that just randomly not supported. Now, that's going back on probably last Christmas or so. So that's about a year ago. So hopefully since then they updated, but you know how Android is. Basically, you got to buy a new device to get an update or whatever like that. So I think they have got it better now because you now can get, I think you now can get Vine on 4.1 because Vine wasn't able to be on 4.1 as well, but I think they updated their app to support. But the thing is with 4.1 again, man, a lot of apps didn't support 4.1 for some reason. A lot of these new apps, like Vine, a while Instagram wasn't working, so you may have some issues with that. On the other hand, with the Warp Sync, you will see that it is running pretty much one of the latest versions of Android now. Whether it's 4.4.4, we'll find out later, hopefully. But it is at least running 4.4. Even if it's 4.4.0, it's at least running 4.4, and most of the apps is supported by 4.4. So you really don't have to worry about anything, that's out right now not working. Probably maybe some of them shady apps won't work or whatever, but pretty much all the official apps and stuff like that in the store, you will be able to download it and, play it because it's running the latest version of Android until L comes out, whatever they decide to call that. Now, the screen size on this one is simply a 5-inch HD touchscreen display, as they say, with Gorilla Glass 2, which means, it won't break as easy, or scratch as easy or whatever, but don't try to drop it because it will crack, all right? It's about the same size as a Samsung Galaxy S4, all right? I'm about to say S5, but S5 is just 0.1 inches bigger than this phone, but it's the same size as the Samsung Galaxy S4. So Walmart, Best Buy, and they should have them on display because they is like the last year's model of, you got S5, S4. That's the old model of it. And you can see what the S5 is, and usually they have the S4 right next to the S5. And I can't wait till they get the Note 4 out there on display so we can see how that's like as well. But you can go to the store, check that out, see if you would like that. But yeah, a 5-inch display, if you know what I'm talking about, it's about the same size as the Galaxy S4, alright? Now on down to the power, what I call the power of the phones, the 1.2 gigahertz quad-core processor, aka the processors in the whole thing. Now if we go down and look at the processors on each phone, you will see that it's a significant difference. This one has a dual-core processor, and this one has a freaking quad-core processor. I think y'all see the clear winner by now. If you're still watching this video, of course, go with the Warp Sync. Now, I know if you got big hands like I do, you probably would be more lenient towards the Max because it's the same size as the Note, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But the reason I'm more lenient this way too, but the reason I wouldn't go with the Max is because, even though it fits the needs for my hands, it is significantly underpowered. Like, it'll probably slow down way quicker than the Warp Sync will because the specs in it is so dated. It's so outdated now. Like, a dual-core processor with Android now is you just don't even try, alright? If you want Android, you should at least have a quad-core processor now. Unless you are really light user. Now, I'm talking from the perspective of myself, which I would say I'm a moderate to heavy user most of the time. But if you just gonna use the phone tonight, maybe look at Instagram here and there. Maybe if you just check the weather with your phone and mostly use your phone for calls, which is what it's built for. But most people today don't use it for that. But if you mainly plan, your main thing is will it text good and talk and call good, this may be alright for you. But when you go to playing games on the 1.2 gigahertz dual core, I'm not saying that they will be super laggy. I'm not saying that they'll be super bad. But I'm saying if you're trying to play some graphic intensive stuff like Asphalt and stuff like that, this phone will have it stuttering. Of course, out the box, it should be able to handle it a while, but you will see a significant loss in, power and just smoothness over time. I'll say about a month, or not, if not even then. If you're super heavy, this thing will just freeze up on you real quick with a just only a dual core processor. All right. So just keep that in mind. If you buy this phone, you buying your way, what I call buying your way back in time. Like you buying the past. So when you buy older processors and slower processor, you should know how that'll turn out. And also, some of y'all want to use your phones just for the camera. So if we just take a look at the camera, it's got the 8 megapixel rear facing camera with a 1 megapixel front facing camera. So you usually use the front facing camera for, your selfies and stuff like that. And it's only 1 megapixel. And this camera goes to 720p HD, alright? On the back, okay? In the front, 1 megapixel is not all that great. It may get the job done for like video chat, but if you like super HD selfies, You know what I'm saying? 1 megapixel pretty much won't do the job. I mean, it'll do the job, but it won't be super HD. You probably have to enhance, put filters all across the thing just to make it look decent enough. But it'll look okay, just not that super. I know I've seen some of those selfies that look like DSLR camera photos. They probably won't get that with a 1 megapixel. And on the back is in 720p, and of course it won't have stabilization. So only way to see how that camera works like that, I would look up a hands-on Max by ZTE whatever camera test, because if it's super shaky, man, the camera is just useless for real. So I would look that up.
The camera is not noteworthy either. The 8 megapixel sensor manages to capture a fair amount of detail in optimal shooting conditions, but photos are notably cooler than they should be, muting colors and sucking the life out of photos. We also had trouble with the autofocus mode on the Boost Max. It had trouble locking on close objects, and not having a two-step shutter button made the switch between tapping to focus and pressing a hardware button to capture a bit strange. The camera should suffice, but it's not quite on par with flagship smartphones.
So if you jump over to the Warp right now like I'm doing, it's got the same 8 megapixel camera on the back. But this time for you selfie junkies, it got a 1.6 MP camera. Now it's not exactly 2 megapixels, but it got a little bit more megapixels. So it should be a little bit clearer, or a decent amount clearer than the last phone. So pretty much, just to sum it all up, everything about the Warp is better than the Max until you get down to battery life. Now, once you get to battery life, you see that the Max has a 3200 milliamp lithium battery, but it's not removable. Check that out. So you can't just buy extra. It's not a removable battery, but that's where the Max wins. I think they call it the Max because the screen size is giant, all right, and the battery quotations is giant as well. But everything else about this phone is slow and outdated now. Maybe back then it'd have been alright, because dual core, I mean, you can still make it with a dual core, don't get me wrong, but maybe back then it was alright. But if you're a moderate power user, you know how to use Android, you planning on playing a lot of games, apps, all this and that, you may be able to get by with it, but I'm not saying you're going to have the best experience. If it was my money, I would, even with the battery drop, I would jump over here to the Sync, because you know, it's losing in the battery. You know, the screen is not that giant, but everything software and hardware is updated versus the Max, because it's running Android 4.4, which is the latest version. Even if it's not the latest update of 4.4, it's at least got 4.4, of course, which is the latest version. Same camera on the back, but it's got a better camera on the front. I mean, better for less money. You can't beat that. It says it's got an HD screen, whatever. Good. It's got the same 1.2 gigahertz clocked, but it's got a quad-core processor, which should give you a smoother, you know, experience across the board on Android, because the more cores, you know, that's better for the phone right there. Although the quad-core may drain on that battery a little bit more, but it'll give you a smoother performance. And pretty much, if you hate lag, you want to go for the higher clocked, the more core phone, even though it may drain on that battery. But also, for people that's wondering about the battery, they claiming it has a long-lasting battery, all right? Even with that, they put it right under the quad-core processor, because, you know, a lot of people that see that will be like, well, the battery won't last that long, but they also claim to have a long-lasting battery. Whether that's super true or not, you know, maybe on the slight end of blah, blah, it all depends on how you use the phone. But with the ZTE Max versus the, you know, the Sync, I would definitely go with the Max. And also disclaiming digital plus sound enabled. All this stuff, I would look it up and check it out and see with some hands-on with the sound. Or if you can't go to the store and hear it yourself, because you really can't hear sound through YouTube videos in a way, because it all depends on what kind of speakers you're running. Like if you're running a system or you're running some studio monitors on the side of your computer, of course it'll sound maybe even better than it sounds in real life. So the only way for you to really hear how these two phones sound is to like maybe go to a Boost store, Best Buy, and maybe see if you can test them out if you were serious about buying one of them. And they may go ahead and put them up head to head for you right there on the spot. I don't know, but either way, just without hearing the devices, without, just going straight off of this paper, I think the ZTE Warp Sync is a clear winner here because of all the updated stuff. Even though it drops in battery and screen size, if I had to pick between the two and it was my money, the ZTE Warp Sync would win. So for everybody asking me, and I'll also pull up some pictures for you to look at, but for everybody asking me these two versus each other, I definitely would go, if these are the only two I had a choice between, I would go with the Warp Sync. Especially if you want to get it for Christmas or whatever. If you were getting it right now, Warp Sync, but they may come out with some new phones between here and there, so I wouldn't recommend like just buying it now for Christmas because they may come out with something better. You know how technology is. But as far as right now, Warp Sync is the winner. Thank y'all for watching. Remember to subscribe to my channel. Also check out my prepaid phone news and review list, my playlist down there. You may have some other stuff that interests you like this right here. And also check out my other playlists. I got RLG news, games, indie games, all that. Got everything on my channel. So just check out my channel, subscribe. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see y'all next video. Peace. Ebates, where it pays to shop online. Links in the description. With Ebates, you could be paid to shop online from almost any online store you already been shopping at. In this case, I'm going to virginmobileusa.com using the search bar, which you can use to find the store you want to shop at. Ebates always have deals, as you see. This time, I can save up to $22.50. All you have to do is search for the store you want on Ebates and make your way to savings. As you see, after I did so, it redirects me to the site which operates as normal, but this time you will be earning money for shopping and make your way to earning that big fat check. As I said before, Ebates have many stores that you can shop at and earn money, including Walmart.com. Once again, all I have to do is search for Walmart on Ebates and get directed to the site as normal. Only this time I'm making money to shop. Ebates is currently offering cash back in over 2,000 stores, so make sure you sign up using the link in the description so you can start saving now. And remember, Ebates, where it pays to shop online. Links in the description.